Thank you very much for coming to our webinar today. We're going to be talking about learning in the modern workplace. Before we start and get onto the topic, we just wanted to say a little bit about ourselves, just so that you know a little bit about us. Yeah, we're a consultancy based in London, in England. We specialize in digital workplace solutions. So we build things like intranets, learning management systems. We do a lot of projects around process automation. We get involved with digital transformation programs and helping develop those, and other different types of workplace tools. When we're building these tools and managing them, we use Office 365. That's at the center of everything we do, and especially we work with SharePoint, Teams, and Flow, but also some of the other elements, Power Automate, yeah, and some of the other bits and pieces that come with Office 365. So in terms of our services, we get involved right at the start of the project. In an ideal world, so we'll help you with discovery, with definition of your requirements, and we do UX consulting as well. We provide development services, mostly within SharePoint, and also technical consultancy. And we also do implementations of major platforms that we use. So tools like Wisdom, Nintex, which is a workflow tool. Wisdom is an intranet in a box. LMS 365, which we're actually going to be talking about today. Hyperfish, which is a profiles and people directory management tool, and also we use the Microsoft Power Suite quite a bit now, increasingly so. We also provide managed support services and also training and adoption services to round everything off. So that's us. We're very focused on digital workplace. I wanted to talk a little bit or introduce LMS 365 as well. So we've recently signed a partnership deal with LMS 365. LMS 365, they produce a learning management system which is built for Office 365, and it fits really nicely into the kind of the suite of products and services that we offer. And we think it's actually a really standout product, which is why we approached them to partner with them. So just a little bit about them. The reason we think they're important is because of the way that they work with Office 365. So in most organizations these days, especially knowledge organizations, but even those that aren't knowledge organizations, Office 365 is at the center of the digital workplace. So you might have various tools kind of coming off as part of this digital workplace, but really all of the tools that make up Office 365, like Outlook, Teams, maybe your intranet is built on SharePoint or on a tool like Wisdom, that's within Office 365. All of your files, your cloud documents, Yammer, and so on and so forth, they're all within kind of like at the center of your digital workplace. And LMS 365 is really just another one on that list because it's so closely integrated with the Office 365 platform. So yeah, that's it for an introduction. We're now going to sort of jump into the main topics of the webinar. And we thought that what would be an interesting way to start is to actually ask people to make it a little bit interactive today. And so we're going to ask people to actually tell us what are some of the challenges that you face when it comes to learning in your own organization. So can you please send us some through the questions functionality on GoToWebinar? If you could send us some of those challenges that you're facing in your organization.
Can you expand that? Because I don't.
Yeah, sorry.
Okay, so just looking for questions coming in. Any kind of challenges that you face as delivering learning and development? Got some coming in now. Okay, great. So
delivering training at the point that people need it. I think that's something that's a very kind of common theme that we hear more and more. Another way of expressing it is training in the flow of work, and I think that's one of the themes we're going to explore today. So that's a really great one. It's difficult for people to spare the time for learning. I was reading an article earlier this week, and I think the number was, the average employee has only 24 minutes a week spare for learning, which I actually thought was quite a lot. I don't feel like I've got 24 minutes a week, but and obviously one of the themes that comes out of that is micro learning, so being able to deliver learning in really small chunks, so that you don't take up too much time. Content curation, another great topic. So the availability of internal stakeholders to get involved in the learning content creation process. And yeah, I mean, either you're doing that externally with an external partner who's helping you to build courses, or maybe it's actually you can do it internally. And what we're seeing, and something that we're going to talk about today with that you can do on LMS 365, is you can actually create your own content, your own course content, really quite easily.
You can also just buy in content, can't you, for that?
That's right. Yeah, you can buy in sort of SCORM content or AICC based content,
pre-packaged stuff.
Exactly. Yeah. So like you've said, our LMS is not integrated with Office 365. So logging into our system is a barrier to people accessing learning. If I had £1 for every time I heard that people don't log into the LMS because they forget their password or they don't know where to find it, I'd be a very wealthy man. So this is one of the key things that LMS 365 fixes. Offering training to those based outside of the UK. So I suppose that's talking about sort of multilingual training.
Yeah, maybe more virtual, emphasis on virtual.
Right. Yeah. I think that's a really good topic. There's lots of calls on people's time, and clients always come first. Yeah, tell me about it. Developing knowledge management systems that are intuitive and simple enough for people to actually load material that is necessary for people to learn from. That's a really good one, and I think what we're going to see more and more in the modern learning organization is systems that can intuitively kind of surface the right content at the right time using technologies like Office Graph. Joe, do you want to just talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. I mean, we know more and more about our users these days. We know Active Directory tells us where they work, who they're working with, and technologies like Graph can kind of create relationships with people that can kind of give our applications more information, so that we as perhaps developers or product owners can create intelligent systems that can surface content that is most relevant for people, that is going to be, I guess, more helpful for them to do their job on.
And I guess a great example of that we can actually see today is a tool like Delve, which can suggest content to you based on what your colleagues are working on, what your colleagues are creating in terms of documents. And
Delve knows what projects I've worked on, who I've communicated with, and based on those relationships, it starts showing me information. I think for learning management, it just makes complete sense, doesn't it, to know those relationships and start showing me content that John has excelled in, John's worked really well on, and start surfacing that. Up to me.
I think that last point, there's also a point to be made about empowering that knowledge owners, kind of like specialist, what's the phrase I'm looking for? Those experts in certain areas in the business, giving them the power to create learning content.
Yes.
And it'd be really easy for them to do it.
Yeah.
So you're not relying on just your kind of learning L&D people to build all the content.
If you've got L&D people,
Yeah.
that's not always the case. I mean, we come across a lot of organisations, and we're talking to, maybe somebody in HR who's responsible for learning, for HR-related learning, or maybe somebody in compliance. That's another big one. Let's move on to the next one. So we have to offer different approaches to training, as one approach doesn't suit all. That takes a lot more time to do. And I think that's a really good point. And I think it's another theme that we're going to talk about a little bit today, which is blended learning. So this ability to deliver lots of different types of content around, packaged around the same sort of topic. And I think that's really to reflect that some people are, some people might prefer to watch videos, other people might prefer to, go through a PowerPoint presentation, other people might prefer to classroom learning or something like that. But obviously, the more kind of the more versions that you need to create, then potentially that can start stacking up the costs and the time. But in one way, I think, and this is perhaps one of the things that I like about LMS 365, is when it comes to that piece, actually, because it's hooked in with Office 365, you can actually start pulling in this content quite easily from the Office 365 environment. So if it already exists there, then you can do that. And also, people can create, because they're familiar with using tools like PowerPoint, they can create the content within those and surface that content up into learning courses. So before we, I think that's the last question
There's one more here about needing to prove that our people have been trained. So there's a kind of like a compliance requirement. Provide evidence that people have been given the training that they need. Right. That they're required to have.
Yes, yeah. And I think this is a massive challenge that organisations face increasingly. It's they need to you need to have that audit trail to show, who's been trained, what have they been trained on, how can you evidence that they've actually been trained as well? Is it sufficient that they've just checked the little box saying, I've done some training, or do they maybe need to do some kind of test? Can you evidence their test? Can you show their test results? Yeah. And so on and so forth. So you can imagine, if you're administering that and you're trying to do that the old-fashioned way using Excel, and pen and paper, whatever it is, then you're going to really, really struggle in this kind of modern environment where there's like heavy regulatory requirements for even companies, these days, which are not even that, not necessarily financial services, it's not necessarily healthcare. It's companies like ourselves who need to demonstrate that we're taking GDPR seriously, for example, or information security is another one. So these are topics that hit every single company.
And going a step further, and then start identifying trends in your business whereby certain departments aren't undertaking the training in time, or there's gaps in entire parts of your business where they're just not doing certain parts of it. So yes, the analytics side of things, I think in LMS, a whole new area that I think is going to give some great insights.
Yeah, okay. I'm just seeing, we actually noted some of these down. So we kind of had our own brainstorm because we were worried you wouldn't ask any questions. So thanks for asking questions. Reaching frontline workers, somebody mentioned that already, didn't they? Actually, I think all the ones that we came up with, you guys have actually come up with. So in fact, some other ones. So that's been really good.
There was one other one about being able to roll out training very quick, or new learning modules very quickly.
Brilliant example. Yeah.
Like the current situation with COVID-19.
So you were out actually just now, John. Literally just before this meeting, I've actually got a demo organised for LMS 365 later on today, straight after this webinar, and I just got an email through saying, apologising, saying, sorry, we can't turn up to your demo, Dan. Can we reschedule? And the reason they couldn't turn up is that the head of learning, who was the main person we were going to be demonstrating the tool to, is busy planning training for coronavirus mitigation plans. So I mean that's a really great, you know, life example of a real life example of, you know, you need to be able to create content, training content really quickly. You don't necessarily have time to go out and brief an agency. You need to be able to do it there and then. There was another one actually that I just picked up on my list. Sorry, bear with me. Yeah, the continuous education as well. So being able to administer. So some organisations, like within healthcare, for example, if you've got a healthcare qualification, such as, you know, if you're a doctor, you need to kind of continually develop yourself. You need to learn, you know, a whole bunch of new stuff as the medical profession, as the medical field evolves. And so you need to essentially manage this learning. You need to be able to manage this learning and also keep score of how many points people are earning for themselves. So again, that's administratively, that's quite difficult. I think actually there's another one that people haven't mentioned, and that is targeting people. And this is something, again, that LMS 365 does really nicely. But if you're in a big organization, you've got lots of different groups of people. They will have maybe different training requirements based on their level in the organization, their role within the organization. They might have to, and sort of managing how you target the right people with the right training is actually really difficult. The old-fashioned way of doing it is manually curating distribution lists of all of your learners. But even if you've got a modern learning system like, and there's something like Fuse or something like Cornerstone or something like that, and that's not integrated into your digital workplace, it's not integrated into your Active Directory, then you have to create those groups, those distribution groups externally. So obviously with LMS 365, you've got all of that stuff. It's just you install LMS 365 and straight away it knows all of the groups that you've got there. So your AD groups, your Office 365 groups, and so on and so forth.
Also, I think the targeting can really reduce the burden in terms of your employees feeling like they've got too many courses to do and that sort of thing. Because
that's a good point.
You know, the tendency, if you've got no good targeting, is to just say, well, let's just make this a requirement for everyone, because, you know, there's a lot of people out there that definitely need to do this. Some people might not be able to do it, but I've got no way to kind of exclude them from the list.
Yes.
And so everyone ends up with like every possible required training to do. But if you have good targeting, you can actually make sure it's only the people that really need to do that stuff.
That's an excellent point. Yeah, I think another thing is that, and very closely linked to that, is that maybe some people who are responsible for disseminating training, maybe compliance training, take a very risk-averse attitude to things and say, actually, I'm going to target everyone. I'm going to send this training out to everyone, just because, even though I think most of these people, for example, this department probably don't need it, but I'm not too sure, so I'll just send it out to everyone. Yeah. That's something that we hear.
The same with onboarding though, right? When a new member joins a team, if you've got your targeting all set up, as soon as they join, they've already got all of their training ready to go. So it's kind of taking the workload off, kind of like managers and compliance members, because you set up your targeting right in the first instance. They've now got all of these training plans available to them on day one without you having to go through and create these training plans and all that stuff perhaps you would have to do previously.
Yeah.
So good. Okay, I think we should probably move on now. What's the time we've got? We're 20, just over 20 minutes through. So let's move on to the kind of the next phase part of our webinar. And so what we're going to do for the next part is we're going to talk about how we can address some of the problems that you guys have come up with and some of the other ones that we came up with. And to do that, we're going to sort of partly to discuss these things, but we're also going to be sort of demonstrating different parts of LMS 365, just as examples of how it can be done. Just to start with, let me just share a different window, so bear with me. Is that still sharing my presentation?
No, not yet.
Okay, you should now see my Chrome browser. So I just want to kind of just to set the scene a bit. I just want to explain a little bit about how LMS 365 is made up. Just to give you some context. So essentially, there are three components to LMS 365. You've got a course catalog. And I'll just click through to that. So we've got a course catalog. We've got a training dashboard, and so that's a personal training dashboard. And then we've got an admin interface, and this is where you create courses, but also where you administer courses. And I think just knowing those three things is quite handy. It's quite, in terms of architecture, it's really quite straightforward. There's not a lot of complexity there, which makes it really nice and easy to use. Another thing that's worth mentioning, obviously you get there's analytics as well, and there's also it's available in both in Teams and in SharePoint and on a mobile app. So you've got different channels that you can deliver your training on, and we're going to sort of go into those. It's one of the things that somebody brought up was that learning in the flow of work. So Teams is an interesting one there. So we're going to sort of show what that experience looks like and how, exactly what it would mean learning in the flow of work. So let's just what we'll do is we'll start off and we'll go into let's go into the course catalog on LMS 365. And just highlight, just have a look at a typical course and how that might look. And one of the things I'm going to try to show you is some of the sort of ways that you can deliver blended content, but also to show you how easy it is to create that content. Because I think this is like really being able to really give the job of content creation out to people in the organization is a really important thing. So let's look at a typical course. So you can see we've got various courses in our course catalog, and you can have many course catalogs. So you might have a course catalog related to I don't know, information security or compliance or whatever that may be. You could have a micro-learning course catalog as well, where you've got little micro-learning courses in there, so maybe little 5-minute videos that are really super quick to digest, and then a little quiz.
So this inside my Office 365, that's on the SharePoint site you've got inside Office 365.
That's right. Yeah, it's all. This is if you're familiar with SharePoint. This is a kind of a vanilla. It hasn't been themed or anything, but it's a vanilla view of what the catalog can look like. One of the things that we do is we theme it. I think this is something that's quite important, is to make the learning environment look really familiar to people, and a great place for it is either in Teams, so it's within the kind of the familiar Teams environment, or within your intranet. I think that's really nice having that, rather than having to go off to a different place, logging in with the passwords that you can't remember, and then you're in a completely different environment. Giving people that comfort of, oh yeah, actually, I kind of know, I kind of feel I know where I am here, and you know, I'm not intimidated by any of the experience.
On that point is actually as well, because LMS 365 is built for Office 365. By default, it has the user interface, the look and feel of Office 365. So it looks seamless with SharePoint, with Teams. it feels like it's, you know, an official Microsoft product, because it just looks the same and keeps that, is in keeping with that.
Yeah. So right, let's get onto it and have a look at a course. So I'm going to go to a course that I created on here called Content Formula GDPR Training. So I can go in, I can just click that, and I can get a little preview of that course. I can see things like, you know, the ratings it's got. I can look at how the different modules within that course. And when I'm happy that, yeah, that's the course I want to do, I can actually go in and I can view that course. So that course loads up. Again, it's still feeling very kind of SharePoint, you know, SharePoint and Office 365. As I said, we can theme it so it looks more like your intranet. But here's what a typical course looks like. You've got your modules on the left, and you've also got this button here, which is Enroll to Course. And of course, one of the things that we can do, as we've already mentioned, is that we can target courses so that you're really automatically enrolled onto a course because of your membership of an Office 365 group. You can also do things like set up an approval workflow. So you might say, okay, I want to enroll for this course, and it will ask your manager, or it'll ask the L&D manager, or somebody. So that's another thing you can do. But on this particular example, I can actually enroll myself, and that sets itself up for me. So you can see there little emails pop through saying, hey Dan, you've been enrolled on the GDPR training. So that's quite handy. And this is one of the things that a good system will do, is it will update you with either messages in something like Teams, or it will update you with emails, you know, reminding you about courses that you're signed up to. So
I guess on that point as well, kind of one of the things I quite like, being more technical than you guys, is kind of the flow Power Automate side of this, with their flow triggers and their Power Automate actions, whereby perhaps a user enrolls, you can then kick off a whole different process or workflow over here, whether you have kind of a process that has to bill a certain department because they've enrolled to a certain course.
Okay.
Or do something based on that, send something into Salesforce, or do something in a completely different system. Tools like Power Automate in Office 365, alongside the LMS 365 Power Automate connectors, make it kind of like a quite nice fit in if you need to do kind of extra things on top of that.
So would you be able to use Flow, or Power Automate as it's now called? Would you be able to use that to integrate with your HR system in order to maybe push competencies and things like that?
Yeah. So perhaps you've enrolled now, you've completed that course. On completion of that course, you may then want it to send a competency to a HR system. That's where Power Automate and the LMS 365 flow triggers really come into their own, because you can quickly do this stuff. It doesn't take a developer to do it. It's probably you guys. I'm not talking down to you guys. It's the citizen developer. The guys who hold all this process knowledge can actually go off and do a lot of this stuff now themselves, without the need of kind of really technical people to kind of integrate systems, build APIs, and do all this stuff.
And I suppose you could almost say that the integration's kind of already built, as long as you've got a common HR system, like SuccessFactors or something like that. Microsoft have already built connectors with Flow that just plug into that, and it's just about configuring how it, exactly what it's going to do.
Exactly. Yeah, just getting your process right, getting your process mapped out, and building that inside of Ultimate.
Yeah, that's very cool. Okay, so let's jump back into this course. So we've got this is an example of a course. So you can see we've got various modules, and I can now play, essentially press play on one of these, and I can go through and start the module. And you can see on the left-hand side here, I've got the various steps of the module, and as I complete these steps, you'll see little green check marks appearing on the left-hand side here. So here we've set it up with a YouTube video. But we could use a stream video here because it integrates with Office 365 Stream. If you're not familiar with Stream, Stream is it's Microsoft's answer to, or Office 365's answer to YouTube. So you can effectively have a very YouTube-like experience in Office 365, but it's all internal. So your videos don't get published outside. You can also control those videos, who gets to see those videos with permissions and stuff. So naturally, you can bring them into an LMS 365 course. So I'll just play the video a little bit, but you can see it's just a normal YouTube video. Now we could actually have, we've set this up very quickly, this is just a video, but we could have some text around here as well, and imagery, it could be several videos. But once I've watched that video, I can then click next, and we're then moving on to the next part of the module, and this is the 9 steps for implementing GDPR, and so these are the steps. In this case, it's just kind of a simple kind of piece of text. It could be a Word document, but equally, another part of this, you could put in a PowerPoint presentation. You could put an embed of maybe a Twitter feed. What would be another good embed that you could put in there? Maybe.
Yeah, good question.
John, any ideas?
Audio as well, not just video.
That's true, yeah.
Some sort of interactive module as well you could have.
Yes.
Yeah.
PowerPoint, all of that.
Yeah, I mean, I think another thing you could do, I mean, if this is GDPR, maybe as an organization, you've got a GDPR policy, so you could put that in here as well. That wouldn't be an embed, that would actually just be linking to your live policy document, the latest version, and that would automatically stay up to date. So that's another great advantage of a tool like this. You can imagine if it was built externally, you're linking, would you be able to link to the live document? Who knows? Possibly you could have, but quite likely not. And you'd have to update that every time the policy changed. You'd have to update it, re-upload it to the course. Remember to re-upload it as well. So yeah, that's that. Let's move on to the next piece. I think this is just a test one, isn't it?
Yeah,
Conversations, there's nothing there. Okay, I'll just zip through that one. Sorry, that's nothing. And then we've got the ICO's GDPR 101. Now this is, what we've got here is actually this is a SCORM package that we're showing you. And if you're not familiar, John, can you explain to the audience what a SCORM package is?
Yeah, sure. SCORM or AICC, they're just kind of like frameworks that you can build learning content in that then are kind of reusable in different LMS systems. So you could buy a selection of learning content, as long as it's SCORM compliant, it can be plugged into your LMS 365 courses, basically. Right,
okay, that's great. And I mean, there is quite a lot of free SCORM content out there. So the UK government actually publishes a few SCORM content courses. So this is one here. So the National Cyber Security Centre publishes and keeps it really up to date as well, a cybersecurity training course for small to medium-sized businesses, and you can see you can actually complete the course right off their website if you want, but you can see here it says the other way is to integrate the package into your own organization's training program. And all you have to do is download the zip file that's linked in there and literally just upload it to LMS 365 or your other, whatever LMS you've got. So that's really nice that there's kind of free content out there, but also you can buy it in. As well. So where were we? So yes, so this is a SCORM package. You've probably seen things like this before. This is a mixture of kind of animations and slides and a guy who comes on and says a few words. And you can see there's a little progress bar across the top, but that's not LMS 365. That's actually just the package itself that's doing that. So I'm going to quit out of that because it's quite a long course, so I'm not going to kind of flick through it. But yeah, I can. You can see it's picked up that I haven't finished this piece, so it's telling me I can resume it later if I want. But I'm going to click through to the quiz now, because that's another thing that really a good course should have. I think we talk to quite a lot of organizations who say, oh, you just have to kind of say that you've read and understood some training, or you've done the training, and that's okay. But I think, you know, in an ideal world, you really want to be able to prove that that individual has done the training by giving them some kind of a quiz or test. And it's one of the things that LMS 365 does really, really nicely. You can there's a little quiz builder in it. In fact, it's quite a powerful quiz builder. You could do kind of almost sort of exam type tests built with that quiz builder. So let's just show you what that could look like. This is just a silly little thing that I put together. So GDPR stands for Generic Data Protection Regulation. We all know that that is false. So we can do true or false. That's one of the formats of questions that you can do. And it gives you some feedback as well. And then I can match the GDPR controls to their risk. So on the right we've got the risks, on the left we've got controls, and I can just match these up like this. So really matching pairs together, and then click next, and then I can yeah, simple multiple choice. There are other kind of question types that you can build in the quiz builder. There's one which I quite like, which is a hotspot one. So you can upload a photograph, and you could say, you know, where is the health and safety hazard, for example, and you have to click on the photograph where that hazard is, and it will be able to detect that you're clicking in the right place. So yes, so that's it. Let's hope I passed. Then yeah, there's one here which is ordering things in the right order. So which is the most severe of these GDPR infractions? So company forgets to pay the ICO annual registration fee. Company sells personal data without permissions from the individual concerned. I think that sounds pretty dodgy. And then company keeps consumer data for longer than is required. So I think that's probably the right order. And then I click next. I'm not sure you selected, I don't think. Yeah, and there you go. I passed. I got 5 out of 5, so that's pretty good. So then I can click. It's actually picked up here. You see, even though I've done the quiz, it says you haven't completed the course because it's detected that I haven't gone through the full SCORM package. So that's quite sort of intelligent. The system knows that. So. Yeah, so I think one of the themes that did come up in the questions was this kind of learning in the flow of work, and yeah, just to recap, that's really this concept that, you know, wherever it is that you're actually doing your work or your task or whatever it is, if you've got it's having, you know, you're likely to be faced maybe with something you don't know, or some kind of a challenge or a problem. And to be able to kind of quickly access learning resources at that point in order to so that you can actually fix that problem is really good. And that might be in the field, or it might be within an application where you spend a lot of your time at work. You know, Teams these days is a great example of that. We're seeing lots of people spending time within Teams. And so I think one of the things is, you know, you can imagine if you've got a knowledge worker and they've got or in fact, not even necessarily a knowledge worker, but they've got a problem. One of the first places they'll want to go is not to the learning management system, but to go to search. So if you've got a good, solid search facility on your intranet, within your digital workplace, that's really where you want them to go. It loads quickly, and it gives you access to all of your organizational resources. So one of the places where you might do that is me just click through. Sorry, guys. I'm going to exit out of here. Bear with me, sorry. So this lets, you might go, say, to the home page of your intranet. This is just a dummy intranet we set up, and you would just really want to do the search there. So, you know, if you were in the field, you'd bring up the intranet homepage, or maybe it default on your browser, or you might have a mobile app that has the search on it. And I could just say, okay, GDPR, I could do a search and bring up that search. And there you go, right at the top, we've got actually the content formula GDPR training. So it's kind of fully integrated. And this is one of the really nice things about a tool like LMS 365 being built into Office 365. Yep. The connection to actually push that content into search is quite straightforward, isn't it, Joe?
Exactly, yeah. Microsoft have recently announced Microsoft Search. They're rolling that out everywhere, and search is just getting better and better on Office 365. So findability of information like this is growing. So to have all of your content within Office 365 just makes sense. You can leverage tools like Microsoft Search to quickly find information.
Yeah, of course, you're going straight into the course there, right? So if you click that link, you're going straight to the course. It's not just sending you to the home page of the learning management system. Correct. It's embedded. It's embedded. So you're going straight into a course, and you could have many courses listed alongside your other intranet documents and pages there on that search page.
Yeah. And you could, you know, you can control Microsoft Search as well, so you can turn it into a best bet if you want.
That's coming. That's over the coming weeks and months. That's not
available at the moment.
Not today. They're adding that like right now. That's in coming out soon. So it's you can have best bet, suggested results, query rules where you're pushing certain things above other things. So that's all.
So another one is Delve. I don't know, some people use Delve to search for things. So this is my Delve page, and I can just search for GDPR. It's suggesting something to me, and I've got sort of various GDPR. I think there's the GDPR course there. Yeah, there it is. So there, once again, it comes up in Delve as well. Actually, it hasn't come up in Delve in this case. I'm not sure what that is, but I think I clicked on the wrong link. There was another link. But anyway, that's kind of one of the things that you can do is have this this nice integration when it comes to search. But something that we're kind of really excited to talk about is Teams and how LMS 365 integrates with Teams. And as far as I know, it's the only LMS system that does actually integrate with Teams. And I think that's kind of really sets it apart, because it's a great place where you actually want to be able to deliver learning. So let me just show you what that looks like. So I'm actually going to just open Teams within the browser, so hopefully you can see that. So let's go to our little example. So we've got our policies and procedures here. It's a channel, so this is, hopefully you're familiar with Teams, but this is the team is called CF, and there's a channel called policies and procedures. And you can see I've got my course catalog here. So I might have course catalog, which is specifically which just contains courses related to my policies and procedures here. So it's kind of really nice to be able to drop that in there within the in the relevant place. I've got various access to various search tools there as well. So it's kind of similar to the experience that you get through the intranet. But what's really great bringing it into Teams is that you can do other clever stuff. So Teams is quite a social app, as I'm sure you probably know. It's got a chat interface here under posts, but also even within a course, let's just load up a course. I'll just show you what you can do. So let's load up the, I don't know, the Access course. Even within a course, you can bring up the chat interface and you can start having a conversation maybe with other people in the team about that particular course. So that's quite useful in bringing social actually into the learning environment. Another thing that you can do, which I think is, again, is a really nice touch, and is making, I think social learning is quite an important topic. It's one that didn't come up in our questions as well, but it sort of helps bring it to life. I think, I think the ideal learning situation is a classroom course, but you need to have the time, they're expensive, they require everyone to be there at the same time, and so on and so forth. And so the next best thing, I think, really is social learning. If you can bring that kind of that social aspect to it, and that's really great. And so here, for example, so this might be my team of people, and I can actually go in, you see this little icon here down on the bottom, I can actually go and search for a course in the catalogue and suggest that course to the team, saying, hey guys, I think you should learn this. So I don't know, let's look for the Office 365 course. I think there's one in here. There you go. That looks it's providing me with all of the different Office 365 courses in the course catalog. I'm going to select that one. That one looks good, and I can go, hey guys, this is really useful, and I can send that into the feed, and it posts that little card in there, and then people can just literally click that view course button right there in the feed, and then go into that course and enroll. Or,
without leaving Teams as well.
Without leaving Teams, exactly.
All still in Teams, yeah.
So really nice little touches. So something else that we can do also is you don't have to have LMS 365 within a particular team channel. You can actually just have it just present within Teams. So you can have the LMS 365 icon here on the left-hand side alongside your other icons. And you've got access to your course catalog. You've got your dashboard as well. I'll go into that in a second. But one of the things that you can do as well, which is quite cool, it's got LMS 365 comes with a bot, and I think that's something that we're seeing more and more in the digital workplace is learning assistants. Personal assistants. And I think a learning assistant is a nice idea in the modern workplace. You can actually ask the bot, help me out, help me find some content. So I can say, show me courses.
Or perhaps even have the bot nudge you, right? Even have the bot nudge you to say,
exactly,
hey Dan, you've not done something. I mean, that's
that's a good point. So here's the course, some course categories it's giving me. So I can say, okay, I'm interested in information security, and the bot goes away and comes back, and it suggests a number of different security courses. So that's to your topic about nudging. I think that's a really nice kind of segue, Joe, because nudge learning is something that comes up sort of more and more as a theme, and that's one of the things that you can do with Office 365 is that you can target people. So this is not necessarily about auto enrolling people, but you can target people with messages based on their membership of groups, and you can do that either on their intranet homepage. So this is if you're familiar with Wisdom, which is the tool that we use, like targeting is a really kind of strong capability of that you can push onto their homepage, like very, very kind of personalized messages, including personalized training. And you could have, I think, bringing nudge and micro learning together is quite a nice touch, where you can say, okay, you've got these little training courses which are maybe 5 minutes, and we've got one here, for example. This is just a mock-up of the page. So this is an intranet homepage, and you can see down here, if I scroll down, you've got my kind of personalized 5-minute lunch and learns, which it's actually targeting at me because it knows who I am and my role and my department and things like that. And so, but you'll notice here also, you can see it says 5 points there, and 5 points there as well. So I can earn 5 points for doing this little nudge learning exercise or micro learning exercise. And that's kind of a nice way of kind of gamifying learning as well, where you can basically award people points for doing nudge learning. Maybe doing a short little quiz as well. Yeah. And that's one of the things that LMS 365 can do, is it can keep track of all of your points. Another thing that we've got here is it can push mandatory learning to you as well. And so this is using targeting techniques, that you might have in your intranet for pushing that mandatory training to you, so bringing it to the fore. Right, so we're running out of time actually, so we better get on with things. I think another thing also that we wanted to show is talk about is mobile access. So I'm just going to share my PowerPoint presentation with you, and I'm just going to show you a screenshot, and just so we've got something to talk about, to look at whilst we talk. So yeah, here I think being able to deliver training on mobile devices is becoming increasingly important. Companies, organisations are really trying nowadays to reach their employees in the field. Yep. I think they used to feel quite cut off, but now we're really seeing a big change in how organisations are behaving when it comes to field workers. And I think delivering learning in the field is the natural next step. Whether that's micro learning or even more advanced learning that you might be able to do on the train home or something. But yeah, one of the good things about this, and I think which is really important for any kind of mobile application that's delivering learning, is to be able to deliver that learning offline, so that you can maybe enroll for the learning, and then it downloads the course content to your phone, so that you could go you could be on the tube, for example, in London, which is notoriously bad in terms of internet connection, so that you can actually do the learning then. So that's quite an important piece. I just very quickly want to show you, we're running out of time, I'm very quickly going to show you course creation, and then we're going to show you some analytics stuff as well. So when it comes to course creation, I'm just going to jump in here. Actually, no, let me go into, so I'm now in the admin part of LMS 365. And you can see there's a create course button there, and this is one of the things it does really well. It allows you to create courses really nice and easily. You don't need to be like a pro or a developer or a designer to create nice content. I'm not going to create a course from scratch, but I'm going to jump into a course that we've already got, and we're going to just look at that course from the back end. So I'm going to edit course. Just to show you some of the functionalities, and really just to demonstrate what a good learning system should look like in terms of user interface, because that's the key here. It's about providing a nice, easy to use user interface. So you can see we've got kind of your course name, description. This is a rich text field, so I can put videos in here. This is all for introducing the course. I can put videos, I can put audio, and so on and so forth. But then going down here, I can apply categories. It's really nice and easy. I click, and the chooser drops it down. I can put, I've got various things, I can show it in the course catalog, or hide it if I want. And then this is the bit I'm quite interested in showing you, is add your users. I'm add my learners. So I can add people here. And this is really, by adding a learner, it's really enrolling people from the back end. So I can, just search for Dan Hawtrey, and I can select him and put him there. But it would be a bit of a pain to have to select everyone one by one. So the answer to that, obviously, is that we actually search for our Office 365 groups or Active Directory groups. And you can see we've got one here called Technical Team. So we want to target that technical team group and auto-enroll them onto this course, which is really useful. And what's cool about that is if somebody leaves the group or somebody joins the group, then the system just automatically auto-enrolls them. You don't need to set it and forget it. You don't need to worry about it. And then you can set things like the due date. You can say it's a fixed due date, so on a certain date they need to carry it out, or it's relative to when you're actually enrolled onto it. So you've got lots of little options. I think what's really nice with an interface like this is it hides stuff away, and so you'll see when I toggle to off, everything's hidden away. It's only when I toggle to on that it shows me more interface, which I think is a nice touch, so that you're not kind of like showing someone a massive complex interface, which can be a bit overwhelming. So that's how you set up a course. You can see I can add certificates, competencies, and so on and so forth. But what I can also do, so that's just setting the course up, but then I can manage my content as well. So I can manage learning modules here. I'll show you an example of a learning module just very quickly, just to show you how easy that is to manage. So various kind of bits of metadata and stuff. But you can see here, it's really kind of a drag and drop interface. If I want to have this is my module here. There's my 9 steps video. There's the 9 steps for implementing GDPR. I can add a stream video in there. I just drag it and drop it, and then I can just put the title of that video, and I would paste the stream video code there, and then hit insert, and that gets dropped into there. So really nice. There's lots of different options. I can upload documents if I want. The reality is it makes more sense to link to a live document, a cloud document. So yeah, in a very quick flash, that was the course creation piece. Yeah, there's also email templates, and we don't have time to show them. Joe, do you want to quickly show the analytics?
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm just trying to find where they are.
Sorry, just go app.
And so, well, you go ahead, explain it.
Yeah, so behind everything that's going on here is obviously a database of audit logs and metrics, and we can actually use something like Power BI to create reports for LMS administrators, for compliance, for whoever really. And you can see here, Dan's brought a report up onto your screen that's showing you courses that have been completed by users. So we can create reports that can actually, show you different metrics, different, different outputs, and I can filter by different line managers, filter by different departments. So if I look at a department, for instance, you can see here that I can see the current status for all the courses in the business. I can see that these are the different courses. There's been a lot of people enrolled on this course, but not many people have actually completed it. The course down the bottom here, actually, there's 5 people overdue on it. No one's completing this course. Is that because the content on it isn't very good? Is it because something else is actually going on there? So analytics are really important to kind of give us informed decisions around what's going on, or at least giving us information to.
There's one report, isn't there, that shows you where people have dropped out.
Yeah, exactly.
In a particular course, or even in a particular package, I think.
Exactly.
You can say, okay, they dropped out at this point, and so
you can do it on quizzes. You can say, well, this quiz answer no one's getting right. Is it because I've just not included that in my piece of training?
Yeah.
So you can really be quite granular in looking at what are the barriers to your learning in all of this, so that you can see, well, yeah, this course is going great, everyone's participating in it, or actually this department just aren't seeing this course. Is it because I badly targeted it? Is it because I'm just not making it visible enough to these people? Do we need to do something to engage them? So there's a whole analytics engine here. It's just got so much information that we can create kind of reports that can just really help out our LMS administrators.
Yeah, whether it's demonstrating compliance either on an organizational level, on a department level, on a personal level, or an individual's level, I should say. There's a lot of data that's there to mine. So I'm very conscious of time, guys. We've actually gone over 3 o'clock, so apologies for that. But yeah, if you could, yes, I just wanted to say thank you very much for coming today. We're Content Formula. If you want to get in touch and do another do a more detailed demo, a full demo of LMS 365, we'd be very very happy to do that with you. Just get in touch with us. Yeah, thank you very much for your time. We'll be publishing the video probably in the next few hours. We'll put that online on our website.
Any questions? I guess we'll get back to people directly if there has been any questions going on.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, do send us questions by email as well. Hopefully, yeah, you'll get my email in the email that we'll send around with the video. I think the course invitation came from me anyway, but it's dhawtrey@contentformula.com. So thanks very much. We hope you enjoyed it.
Thanks.